revealed how this inspirational black CEO rescued her bank and transformed her legacy in 30 days. Angela Harris walked briskly through the vibrant streets of downtown Richmond, Virginia, her heels clicking against the pavement with purpose. The air buzzed with energy, street vendors selling hot dogs and the laughter of families gathering for picnics in the park. Angela felt the pulse of her community, the spirit of resilience that had been her lifeline through tough times. She drew strength from her mother, a veteran who had taught her to fight for her dreams in their modest home. Here she was now, a 35-year-old black CEO stepping into a world filled with skepticism and struggle, ready to face the demons threatening her bank's survival. Every decision felt monumental. Her vision for the bank was bold, but the resistance was palpable. Board members whispered about her credentials, the echoes of doubt ricocheting in her mind. Can she really lead us? They seemed to ask. A tight knot formed in her stomach as she recalled her nights spent worrying about her younger brother, struggling to find his footing in a challenging job market. She clenched her fists, leaning into that pain, channeling the fury of every doubt cast upon her. She wouldn't just save her bank, she would change lives. As the stakes rose, a scandal erupted within her team that threatened not only her leadership but also her integrity. In that moment, sitting in the sterile conference room with cold stares fixed on her, she felt the weight of every challenge she'd ever faced. Tears stung her eyes as she silently prayed for strength. The whispers grew louder. Angela doesn't belong here. Yet, amidst the storm, her loyal employees rallied around her, their support an unyielding force of warmth against the chill of judgment. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With camaraderie ignited, Angela and her team brainstormed innovative financial literacy workshops for the community, a goal that resonated with every familial gathering she remembered growing up. Together, they envisioned a bank that was not just a place of transactions but a pillar of hope and education, lighting the path for families longing for stability. Standing before her team, a surge of electricity coursed through her, hope blossomed in her chest, and she knew this was the dream they could polish into reality. But just as the momentum began to gather, new whispers eagerly fanned the flames of doubt. Questions about her qualifications resurfaced, throwing Angela's confidence into turmoil. Could she rescue this bank? Could her voice rise above the societal constraints pressing down on her? Closing her eyes, she inhaled deeply, preparing herself to face the overwhelming doubts threatening to overshadow her determination. The clock was ticking, and in this battle for her legacy, she knew she had to prove them wrong. With time slipping away, Angela stood on the precipice of transformation, surrounded by hard decisions and wavering faith. As she prepared to unveil her vision to the public, only one question lurked in her mind. Would she rise above the prejudice and save her bank, or would she become just another statistic in a world that often overlooks the dreams of those like her? Angela took a deep breath before stepping onto the stage, the bright lights illuminating her face in the packed auditorium. She could hear the low hum of the crowd, filled with supporters, skeptics, and curious onlookers. The tension in the air was palpable, thick enough to slice through. This was at the moment she had been working toward, the unveiling of her vision to the world. Her heart raced, but she let the adrenaline flow through her veins like fire. "I'm not just here to save this bank," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'm here to change the conversation around what a financial institution can be." She caught the eye of her younger brother in the front row. His proud smile fueled her courage, a reminder of why this fight mattered beyond numbers and bottom lines. As she spoke about the workshops aimed at educating families, igniting hope in the community, and fostering financial independence, she noticed the room shift subtly. The whispers transformed into murmurs of agreement. Faces softened as she detailed real stories of people who were already feeling the impact of their initiatives. People who were beginning to believe that they could accomplish more than they ever thought possible. Yet, as she shared her dreams, a knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. What if they didn't embrace her vision? What if the doubts returned with a crushing weight? She took another steadying breath, allowing herself to remember every obstacle she had faced throughout her journey. Her mother's teachings echoed in her mind. Resilience was a choice. She was determined to make hers count. Suddenly, a voice rang out from the back of the auditorium, interrupting her flow. What proof do you have that you can deliver on these promises? A ripple of tension spread through the audience. Angela's pulse quickened. This wasn't just a simple question. It was a challenge to her very essence as a leader. Uncertainty loomed like a storm cloud overhead. Angela swallowed hard, searching her mind for the right words. I don't just seek to tell you about what we can do. I want to show you. We're launching a pilot program next month. You can be a part of it. We will measure impacts, success stories, and real changes. Together. The challenge hung in the air, and she could almost feel the weight of skepticism pressing down on her shoulders. But then came a spark. Her team, seated close by, erupted in applause, rallying behind her as if to say they trusted her, believed in her. The crowd hesitated but then began to join in, the sound growing louder, lifting the veil of doubt slowly. Angela felt a surge of hope, her heart swelling as the atmosphere began to shift. But deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. The questions didn't just fade away, they grew louder in her mind. Could she truly deliver? With her voice rising above the growing applause, she pressed on. Change isn't easy, but together, we can build something that lasts. A legacy that empowers. As the echoes of support surrounded her, doubt spiraled beneath the surface, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the biggest test was yet to come. What unseen challenges lurked in the shadows behind her seemingly bright vision? And as she basked in the warmth of the crowd's applause, one haunting thought echoed louder than the rest. Would the community truly stand with her when the road ahead got tough? The applause faded gradually into a murmur as Angela stepped down from the stage, the weight of both triumph and unease heavy in her chest. She had felt the shift in the air, the way the crowd had leaned into her words, but deep inside, doubt still nibbled at the edges of her confidence. Angela! A voice called after her. It was Matthew, the lead marketing strategist, his eyes alight with excitement. You nailed it. I think we really turned some heads up there. She offered a smile, but it felt shaky. Thanks, Matthew. But I worry. Worry? He cut in. You just brought down the house. We've got a pilot program set to launch. You can't let fear seep in now. She admired his enthusiasm, his unwavering belief in their mission, but her mind raced with possible pitfalls. What if the pilot program flopped? What if the community's expectations were too high? They were ready to trust her, but could she truly deliver? Angela took a moment to breathe deeply, grounding herself as she moved through the bustling crowd of colleagues and supporters. The excitement was contagious, voices bubbling over each other in spirited discussions about the program and its potential. She saw her brother at the edge of the room, weaving through the throng. His eyes caught hers, and the pride in them made her heart flutter, pushing her uncertainty just a little further away. Proud of you, he said as he approached, his voice steady. You worked hard for this moment. It was just the beginning, she replied, her gaze flickering past him toward the crowd. I need to prove I can follow through. Hey, he said softly, gripping her shoulder. We believe in you. Just remember, even if it gets tough, you're not alone. Angela nodded, but the anxiety was still coiling inside her mind. That night, as she lay in bed, she replayed the evening's events. Each hopeful smiling face reminded her of the stakes, and the looming deadlines felt like thunderclouds on the horizon. The clock ticked steadily in the dark, merging thoughts of passion and dread into a storm of what-ifs. The next day, she sat at her desk with a stack of proposals, ready to lay out the pilot program. Each sheet was filled with plans, timelines, and metrics, but behind the numbers she knew it all hinged on one thing: the community's trust. They had rallied behind her this time, but would they stand firm when struggles emerged? As her team filed into the room for their planning session, Angela squared her shoulders. "All right, everyone," she started, her voice firm. "We've got momentum. We need to harness it and prepare for the unexpected. Let us brainstorm potential challenges, weaknesses, anything we might face." They began to discuss possible roadblocks, sharing ideas openly. The more they talked, the more the team built a safety net of strategies, reinforcing Angela's confidence. Yet, despite the collaborative spirit, a tremor of doubt loomed at the edges of her enthusiasm. Hours passed, and the room buzzed with energy and creativity, but Angela's mind kept flickering back to that moment on stage. What if they failed? What if her promise to the community became an empty shell? That evening, she decided to take a walk. The streets buzzed with life, families enjoying the day, laughter echoing through the park. She stopped at a food truck, ordering a quick bite. That's when she heard a voice behind her. "Angela?" She turned to see Rosalie, one of the community leaders they had partnered with. "I just wanted to say how much the program means to us," Rosalie continued. Angela smiled, but it felt thin as uncertainty washed over her once more. "Thank you? We're going to work hard to make it impactful." Rosalie nodded, her expression earnest. "We know that. But remember, it's okay to be nervous. It means you care." Angela watched as Rosalie walked away, her heart lighter but still heavy with unspoken fears. Would she really be able to carry this burden, and more importantly, would the community truly stand with her when the tides turned? Later that night, she sat with her laptop open, staring at a blinking cursor, searching for a way to articulate her fears. But what if the answers weren't clear yet? What if she had to embrace uncertainty alongside her vision? As her finger hovered over the keyboard, a sudden thought struck her like a lightning bolt. What if the journey itself could become a part of their story? The ups, the downs, the lessons learned along the way. By the time she finished typing, she felt a glimmer of the hope she had earlier. Maybe, just maybe, the toughest battles were not those fought alone but those shared with the people behind her. And as she stared out the window into the deepening twilight, a new question lingered in the air. Could vulnerability become her strength? What lay ahead was unknown, but she was ready to face it head-on. Would the community back her as she took the leap, or would they pull away when challenges arose? The morning sun spilled through Angela's window, painting her room in soft golds and yellows. It felt like a new day, yet doubts still crept in around the edges. She rubbed her eyes and inhaled deeply, trying to shake off the weight of uncertainty. Today was crucial. The team would present their strategies to key stakeholders, and she could almost feel the energy in the air. Standing in front of her mirror, she straightened her blazer and practiced her presentation in whispers. Each word felt heavy with significance. "We can do this," she whispered to her reflection, but her eyes betrayed a different story, one of worry and apprehension that she couldn't fully disguise. At the office, a buzz of excitement filled the hallways. Her colleagues were pumped, strategizing over coffee, their chatter echoing with possibility. When Angela stepped into the meeting room, the energy turned slightly, eyes landing on her with a mixture of hope and expectation. She was the face of their dream. "Angela. Ready?" Matthew's voice broke the spell of silence. He beamed with confidence, his enthusiasm infectious. "Yeah, let us do this," she replied, mustering a smile. As they gathered around the table, she felt the faces of her team turn toward her, waiting for her lead. The stakes were high, and the words she would share could shift the course of their future. She took a breath and began. "Thank you all for being here today. We're not just launching a pilot program. We're building a community, creating change, and fostering trust." As she spoke, the room nodded, resonating with her passion. They were all in this together. She shared their vision, their ideas, and the potential challenges on the horizon. With each slide that flipped, Angela could see heads nodding, smiles exchanging glances. But as she detailed the risks, a familiar tightening gripped her gut. What if they missed something crucial? What if the board didn't buy into it? When the presentation ended, hands began to raise with questions, and the back-and-forth energy buzzed around the table. Angela answered each one tentatively at first, but soon found her voice. The dialogue lit something inside of her, banishing some of those nagging doubts. She felt herself rising to meet her team's enthusiasm. Just as they wrapped up, Colin, one of the board members, raised an eyebrow. Angela, this is ambitious. What about contingencies? How do we handle a failure? Angela paused and locked eyes with him. Every journey has bumps. We need to embrace that. We're all in this together, and we'll learn and adapt as we go. The community is counting on us. The murmurs around the table shifted for a moment, new respect painting the air. They were all leaning into her, trusting her leadership. The conversation continued until the meeting dispersed, excitement brimming as her team departed with renewed energy. Angela lingered for a moment, feeling the pulse of possibility swelling in her chest. Perhaps she could lead them through uncertainty with authenticity. Later that evening, as she sank into her couch, tired but buoyed by the day's success, she pulled out her laptop again. A message from Rosalie prompted her to smile. I can't wait for this program to launch. Your words today filled us with hope. In that moment, Angela felt a stunning realization wash over her. The community needed her to be real, to share her insecurities as much as her triumphs. Embracing her vulnerability wasn't a weakness. It was a strength they could all harness together. But as Angela laid her head down, chuckling at her overthinking, another thought pierced her happiness. What would happen if they really did face failure? Would their support hold firm when the going got tough? The question spiraled again, a familiar churning in her gut. Tomorrow brought the final evaluations. Would the community's hopes rest on her shoulders alone? Angela sighed, knowing she had to silence the doubt if she was to rise to the occasion. As exhaustion pulled her into slumber, a nagging thought lingered. Was her trust in their unity enough to stand against the storm ahead? With dawn approaching, the road ahead was fraught with unknowns. Would they rally around her vision, or would she end up facing their disappointment alone? Angela woke to the sound of her phone buzzing on the bedside table. As she reached for it, the light from the screen illuminated her concerned face. A reminder flashed. Final evaluations today. Her heart raced, the previous night's doubts creeping back in. Could she really rally the community around her vision? After a quick shower, she dressed deliberately, choosing a different blazer, one that felt bold and vibrant. It was as if she was arming herself for battle, ready to face whatever came next. As she stepped outside, the morning air felt crisp and clear, a contrast to the chaos in her mind. Arriving at the office, the familiar buzz had returned, but this time, it was tinged with an edge of anxiety. Colleagues greeted her, smiles plastered on their faces, but eyes showed an undercurrent of worry. Angela could sense the collective tension hanging heavy. The evaluation meeting room loomed ahead, and as she entered, a wave of uncertainty washed over her. Long tables filled with important faces, board members shifting in their seats, all waiting for the presentations that would determine their future. Angela took a deep breath, grounding herself. Matthew walked in alongside her, a reassuring smile on his face. We've got this, Angela. Just remember, we're all behind you. Thanks, Matthew. I hope you're right, she said, feeling a slight tremor in her voice. The words echoed with the fear she was desperate to dismiss. The first few presentations rolled by, each filled with numbers and stats that seemed to drift by without realization. Angela watched, absorbing the tactics, the buzzwords that filled the room, but something was missing. More than facts and figures, she knew the real heartbeat was the community. When it was finally her turn, she left her notes behind. Instead, she spoke from the heart. Today is about more than just statistics. It's about people, faces, families, lives changed. She locked eyes with the board members, trying to connect down to the core of her message. We're not just launching a program, we're igniting hope. The room held its breath, and she felt an electric energy surge through her. Encouraged, she elaborated on their vision, tying in anecdotes, painting vivid pictures of what success could look like not just for them, but for everyone involved. Her voice, now steady, resonated with the enthusiasm brewing inside her. You might ask about failure. What if we stumble? she said, sensing Colin's skeptical expression. But the truth is, we learn from our failures, we grow, and we adapt together. Your trust in our team is not just appreciated, it's essential. A hush fell over the room. Angela saw subtle nods. They were hearing her. For the first time, she felt like she was not just presenting a strategy, but weaving a story that the board could grasp on a human level. When she finished, the silence was almost palpable. Then, one by one, board members leaned in, eager to discuss. Questions flowed, but instead of apprehension, she felt excitement in each interaction. The initial tension seemed to evaporate. Just as the room began to buzz, Colin raised a hand again, but this time his expression was different. If we approve this, it will be because of your passion, Angela. We want to support you. Relief washed over her, followed by disbelief. They believed in her. Together, they could truly pioneer something new. As the meeting wrapped up, Angela felt buoyed by the energy of the team and above all, the community they aimed to serve. The path ahead was still unclear, the challenges undeniably present, but she had ignited a spark. Later that night, she relaxed at home, her thoughts drifting to the possibilities. Would their plans materialize into something tangible? Would she find the courage to lead through both triumphs and failures? With a growing sense of determination, she glanced at the message window on her laptop. A new email popped up. Next steps on the initiative excited to discuss. The new excitement fluttered in her chest, but alongside it lurked her lingering worry. What if the upcoming challenges were more significant than they anticipated? Staring at the message, she realized she stood at the edge of a major turning point. Would their shared vision guide them through the uncertainties ahead, or would they find themselves standing alone once again? Angela stared at the blinking cursor on her laptop, the weight of that single message thrumming in her chest. She clicked it open, heart racing, scanning for any clues about what lay ahead. The email was a flurry of enthusiasm, highlighting upcoming discussions, potential partnerships, and the promise of community engagement. Yet, as much as her heart leaped with hope, the ghost of doubt whispered in her ear. Were they ready for this? She knew that change wasn't just about pulling pieces together. It was about creating a movement, inspiring belief when people felt lost. And the work needed was bigger than she had ever imagined. Angela took a moment to breathe. The journey ahead needed to be grounded in reality, but fueled by that same spark she had ignited in the meeting. The next day, she gathered her small team for an early brainstorming session. The sun peeked through the blinds, casting a warm glow across the room, wrapping them in an atmosphere of possibility. She could sense their excitement mingling with nerves, and she embraced both. "Okay, team, let us talk strategy," Angela began, leaning forward eager. "We have the board's support, but transforming our vision into action will take more than just a plan on paper. We need to engage every person in our community." Matt, still wide-eyed from the previous day's adrenaline, nodded vigorously. "I think we should start reaching out directly, hold community forums, get feedback, hear their stories. It has to start there." "Absolutely," Angela replied, her heart swelling with pride. They were thinking like a team, like a family. "Let us create a schedule for outreach and start mapping our goals. We need to be transparent with our intentions and involve everyone in the journey." As they fleshed out ideas, Angela began to feel the initial thrill of action replacing her worries. It was contagious. They plotted outreach events, envisioned partnerships with local businesses, and even the tantalizing idea of a community kickoff event bubbled to the surface. This was starting to feel tangible. But Angela's mind flickered to Colin's earlier expression. What if the board began to doubt their ambitious goals? What if they weren't ready? These questions surged like waves crashing against her resolve. "All right, Angela, it's good to dream big, but let us think pragmatically," Liz, another team member, interjected. "What if the numbers don't add up? What if the response isn't what we expect?" Angela paused, feeling the weight of Liz's caution. "We adapt. We learn. Every step is a chance to grow," she said, echoing her sentiments from the meeting. But part of her was still fighting with fears of inadequacy. "I want us to remember, it's not just about what we can plan, but about the lives we're going to touch, she added, her voice firm. As the discussions flowed, a sense of excitement turned into something deeper. They began drafting a potential mission statement that encapsulated their vision, words that rolled off Angela's tongue with conviction. "You're creating a legacy here, Angela," Matthew remarked as they closed the meeting. "It's beyond just numbers, this is something people will remember." That night, Angela found herself reflecting on their mission, the brainstorming session lingering in her mind like a warm embrace. A sense of purpose washed over her, mingling with the thrill of taking bold, actionable steps. But just as she felt a renewed faith in their journey, an unexpected ping interrupted her thoughts. A new email. This time, it was an uplifting message. It was a request for a meeting from Colin, suggesting a review of the community engagement plan. A pit formed in her stomach. Was he losing faith? What if he wanted to scale back their ambitions? Angela leaned back, the chair creaking softly. She was on the edge, but was she ready for whatever was about to unfold? Would this push her to further greatness, or would she find herself on the path to disappointment? With tension thick in the air, she prepared herself for the challenge that lay ahead, knowing the weight of her vision and the community she aimed to uplift depended on it. The moment was coming. What would it reveal? The sun was just rising, casting golden rays across Angela's living room as she sat with her laptop open, her breath caught in her throat. The meeting with Colin loomed over her like a storm cloud. Thoughts raced through her mind as she prepared for what she half hoped would be a reaffirmation of her vision, and half feared might lead to disapproval. She grabbed her notebook, filled with notes from their brainstorming session. Ideas spilled out in handwritten passion, community forums, partnerships, stories of inspiration. Each scribble was a thread of hope, but now they felt fragile in the face of uncertainty. Angela glanced at her reflection in the dark screen. "You can do this," she whispered to herself. "You owe it to your team, and to the community." A surge of determination washed over her, and she wished she could bottle this feeling to unleash it in the meeting. When she arrived at the office, the atmosphere was charged. Her teammates exchanged nervous glances, sharing the weight of the moment. Each member had invested themselves into this project, their hearts cut open and laid bare before an idea that had the potential to unite them all. She gathered them in the small conference room, letting the sunlight stream through the windows, dispelling the sense of dread. "Everyone, I know we're all anxious," she began, her voice steady. "But remember why we started this journey. The mission is greater than any individual hesitation." She took a breath and pressed on. "Colin wants to review the plan. That tells us one thing: we are being taken seriously." Matt nodded, determination igniting in his eyes. "We've got good ideas. Let us show him how passionate we are." Liz, still anxious, raised her hand. "But what if he thinks we're not ready? That we've bitten off more than we can chew?" Angela felt that familiar twinge of doubt. But she didn't want to fuel fears. Instead, she wanted to ensure they all felt empowered. "If he has concerns, we address them head on. It's part of our growth." No one joined this team thinking it would be easy. With a deep breath, she proposed they each share personal stories of why they believed in what they were creating. The conversations turned emotional as they opened up, recalling moments when community had restored their own feelings of hope, strength, and unity. Each story echoed in the room, intertwining, breathing life into their mission. It was time. The scheduled meeting with Colin would begin now. As she entered his office, dressed in the confidence of her vision, she could already sense the tension in the air. Colin sat behind a long conference table, his expression unreadable. He gestured for her to take a seat, and she did, heart racing. "Angela," he began, his voice steady. "I appreciate all the hard work I've seen from you and your team. This project has potential, but I have reservations." Her chest tightened. "What kind of reservations?" Colin leaned back, scrutinizing her. "Is this scale feasible? Have you considered the funding and resources we might need? The board is on board, but they also want to ensure we're setting realistic expectations." Angela felt a rush of anticipation mixed with anxiety. They'd spent countless hours forging a path forward, and now it felt like they were standing on a precipice. "I understand. But we are committed to transparency and adaptability. We'll adjust as necessary. We're doing this together. Colin's brow lifted, a hint of softness cracking through his stern demeanor. I can see this means a lot to you, but can you handle the pressure? This isn't just any community project, it's ambitious. A wave of warmth surged through Angela. I don't just want to be the leader of this initiative. I want to inspire those around me. We're aiming for transformation, Colin. But I need your support to do it. Colin paused, his eyes evaluating her earnestness. If it falls apart, it'll be on you. Are you ready for that? Angela leaned forward, letting her conviction pour from her heart. I believe we can lift each other up. The community deserves a fighting chance, not just for ourselves, but for them. Silence enveloped them for a moment, and Angela could hear the pulse of her heart, anticipating what would come next. Would Colin endorse their vision, embrace the possibility of community-driven change? Or would uncertainty snuff out their light before it could ever truly shine? As she waited for his answer, the room felt smaller, the moment crystallizing into something monumental. The future hung in the balance, and then, just then, Colin opened his mouth to respond. What would he say? Colin took a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing against the quiet of the room. Angela, he began slowly, I genuinely appreciate your passion and vision. It excites me. But his voice trailed off, filling the air with a tension that made Angela's palms sweat. But, she urged, leaning forward, there are big decisions to make. The board is watching closely, and change can face resistance. It's not just about your passion, it's about numbers and results. If we commit to this, we have to be ready to show them we can pull it off solidly. Her heart sank slightly but then lifted again. Colin, I promise we have a strategic plan. We won't just hope for change. We'll create measurable goals, track our progress, adjust our strategies when necessary. A collective effort. Colin was silent for a moment, weighing her words, and Angela felt hope flutter back into her chest. Finally, he nodded. All right, I'll give you the chance you want. But understand this: if any of our plans slip, if results aren't visible quickly, I'll have to reconsider our direction. His words were firm, yet there was a flicker of trust behind them. Thank you, Angela exclaimed. I won't let you down. We'll prove to you that this community project is worth every ounce of effort. The tension began to shift, replaced by an energy that buzzed between them. Colin leaned forward. I do want to see a detailed outline of the initial steps by the end of the week. Can you manage that? Yes. Absolutely, she replied, eyes brightening. He smiled slightly, an expression Angela hadn't seen before. It felt like a doorway just cracked open. Good. I believe you can make this work. Just keep the communication lines open. With a renewed sense of purpose, Angela stood up, ready to embrace the challenges ahead. She walked out of the office with a spring in her step, feeling the support of her team wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Angela, how did it go? Matt asked, breaking through her thoughts as soon as she stepped back into the conference room. She grinned widely, the relief flooding through her veins. Yes, on board, guys. Colin believes in our vision. We have the green light. The team erupted into cheers, high fives flying around the room like confetti. Liz threw her arms around Angela. I knew you could do it. I knew it. Angela felt her heart swell as she looked around at her team, hearts full of hope and excitement. This isn't just me. It's us. Together, we'll make this happen, and for everyone who believes in change. As they celebrated, Angela felt a flicker of fear in the back of her mind, Colin's words echoing about pressure and expectations. But she pushed it away. They had a moment to savor, and she wouldn't let doubts steal that away. Later, as the day shifted toward dusk, Angela found herself at her desk, surrounded by her notes and plans. She felt the looming tasks ahead, the structure that was now required to turn their dream into reality. But as she began drafting the steps Colin requested, a troubling thought crept in. What if they focused so much on results that they lost sight of their passion? What if the community's voices became lost in numbers and strategies? Her heart thudded heavily with realization. In that moment, she knew she had to balance ambition with authenticity to keep the heart of the project alive. That was the challenge, the real essence she needed to protect. As she put pen to paper, a shadow crossed her mind. Was she truly ready for the pressure? Could she lead them without losing sight of the reason they started this journey in the first place? The questions hung in the air like a storm gathering strength. And just as she was about to draft the next paragraph, her phone buzzed violently on the table. With a flicker of anxiety, she reached for it. What she found waiting for her on the screen took her breath away. Angela's heart raced as she read the headline. It seemed to shout at her, demanding attention, a mix of disbelief and inspiration swelling inside her. Words swirled together, almost forming a new mantra. Transform, inspire, uplift. The article detailed how a CEO had turned around an ailing bank, showcasing her relentless determination and heart for her community. Her mind raced. Could this be the example she needed? The tangible proof that change, real change, was possible? She fought so hard to carve out a path that echoed her vision for their project. Here was a leader thriving amidst chaos, breaking barriers in the corporate world while prioritizing human connection. With trembling fingers, she opened the article. It unfolded stories of late nights, setbacks, and breathtaking victories, all woven together like a tapestry of resilience. This CEO did not shy away from tough decisions. She embraced them, understanding their weight but never letting fear dictate her choices. Angela thought of Colin's words, the expectations resting like a heavy backpack on her shoulders. Could she channel the same strength and vision? Before she could dive deeper into the article, her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Liz. "Hey, can we meet tomorrow? Need your input on some ideas for the launch." Angela smiled, feeling the familiar warmth of her team's support wrap around her once again. "Of course," she quickly typed back. Ideas were bubbling in her mind, stoked by the article's fire. What barriers could they break if they harnessed their collective passion? She leaned back in her chair, her gaze steadying. This wasn't just about the numbers. It was about the hearts they touch, the stories they uplift. Days passed, each filled with brainstorming sessions and strategic planning. They worked late into the nights, fueled by coffee and enthusiasm. Angela made it a point to ground each meeting in their core values, sketching a roadmap that incorporated both ambition and authenticity. The buzz of ideas felt electric, bringing them closer and igniting a shared sense of purpose. Suddenly, one afternoon, Matt burst into the office, his face a mask of excitement. "Angela, you've got to see this!" Angela looked up, caught off guard. The room quieted as everyone turned their attention to the commotion. "What is happening?" "We just got word from the board. They want a preliminary review next week. They're impressed with the energy around the project. They want to hear our progress." The air thickened with both excitement and anxiety. It was a chance to showcase their hard work but also a test of their newly laid foundation. Angela's heart raced not from fear, but from a sense of determination. "We can do this, right?" she asked, turning to the team. They nodded, each face a reflection of the hope they shared. "Let us show them what we've built. A project driven by passion and purpose." The words flowed, echoing Colin's belief in her vision, as well as the article that had sparked her. But just as they settled into their planning, the weight of reality began to settle again. What if the board wasn't ready for their vision? What if the heart of their project was lost in the metrics and expectations? Angela shook her head, dismissing the doubt. They were ready. They had each other, and they had the community's voice guiding them. As her phone buzzed again, she glanced at the screen. It was a notification from a local news outlet about their project. Her breath caught in her throat. Oh no, not this too. What headline would it reveal? What would the world see through its lens? A mix of nerves and excitement flooded through her as she opened the notification. In that moment, everything felt like it was about to shift once again. The headline read, "Local Bank Transformation, a Community-Centered Approach. Can Angela Harris deliver?" Angela's heart raced. This was simultaneously incredibly exciting and utterly terrifying. A wave of recognition washed over her as she scanned the article, highlighting their journey from doubt to determination. It praised their bold initiatives, the workshops, and community outreach plans, but also posed critical questions. Would they be able to truly engage the community? Would their promise of change become a reality, or merely a slogan? As she finished reading, a knot tightened in her stomach. Angela took a moment to absorb it all. This spotlight brought undeniable risks. What if they don't believe in us? She murmured, thoughts tumbling like autumn leaves. That voice of doubt had found its way back in. She had fought so hard to bring hope into the narrative, but those fears about delivering results crept back in like shadows at dusk. Just then, Liz peeked in, her face lighting up when she saw Angela. "Did you see? We're making waves. This is our moment, Angela. We've got to embrace every bit of it." "Yeah, but what if they expect too much too soon?" Angela countered, feeling the weight of expectations heavy on her chest. "What happens when we hit a roadblock?" With unwavering determination, Liz stepped closer. "That's the point. We're doing this together. We'll adapt, learn, and grow along the way. Just like in our stories, this is a journey. It makes our mission relatable." Angela felt her heart tug into the embrace of possibility once more. The road ahead would be filled with bumps, she knew that. But if they faced them head-on together, each struggle would also bring growth. "Maybe you're right. We're not just chasing numbers, we're building something meaningful," she said, her voice growing stronger. The following days brought a whirlwind of preparations. The team finalized plans and strategies for their presentation to the board. Each brainstorm session felt electric, as they channeled the energy and excitement resonating from the positive article. They crafted stories behind the statistics, painting vivid pictures of community impact. Finally, the day upon them arrived, nerves and anticipation swirling in the air like confetti. Standing in the conference room, Angela felt the collective heartbeat of her team echoing in her chest as they presented to the board members. As she spoke about their community-focused initiatives, enthusiasm flowed with each word: bold workshops, educational programs, and opportunities to uplift families. But when questions arose, doubt flared in her mind once again. What if they want to play it safe? What if they want the numbers more than they want the heart? Yet, somewhere deep inside, she remembered each story shared with her team, the faces of families they were aiming to help. This was more than just a pitch, it was a mission, a chance to uplift hope in their community. The final question shot from Colin's lips. "So, Angela, how do we know this will truly succeed?" She took a steadying breath. "Because we are committed to not just tracking the metrics but listening to the voices that matter the most, the community. We'll iterate, learn, and adapt to their needs. We're paving a pathway for each other, not just hitting targets. Together, we'll prove what is possible." Angela watched as their audience absorbed her words, the tension in the room ebbing away. Slowly, nods began to ripple through the board members. Energy shifted like a warm spring breeze. As they wrapped up, Colin leaned forward, his expression softening. "You've given us more than just a strategy, Angela. You've inspired us with your vision and commitment. I believe we can beat the odds." A wave of relief and triumph surged through her as the meeting concluded with an undeniable shift. Support and belief solidified among them. Angela and her team embraced, hearts alight with excitement. "You did it!" Liz exclaimed, pulling Angela into a tight hug. "We did it! We showed them who we are!" But even amidst the jubilation, Angela knew the journey had only begun. The upcoming weeks would demand effort, resilience, and collaboration from all sides. They needed to stay authentic, to maintain the heart of the work as they translated vision into reality. As Angela set the laptop down and came back to the present, she felt a sense of peace washing over her, effacing her lingering doubts. Every challenge faced would only strengthen their resolve. They were ready to embrace whatever came next, hand in hand with the community they aimed to uplift. Angela's phone buzzed again, a notification from a local news site with an invitation to share their story. A smile spread across her face. The transformation had begun, and in this journey, she would stand proud, not alone, but surrounded by the strength of her family, her team, and a community ready to rise together. With a heart full of hope and determination, Angela stepped forward. The moment to inspire was now. This was their shared legacy, and it was just getting started. If you're inspired by Angela's journey, we need you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find this inspiration. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us uplift stories that matter.